Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to Sisters for Harmony. We are super excited to kick off this month of March and Women's History Month and March Madness. I mean, I could not think of a better guest to have and have this Shea Dawson experience
Hello.
than Shea Dawson herself. Hey, Miss.
Hello, man. I'm so excited to finally be on this side of your podcast versus in the comments, putting fire emojis or froggy tea and bunnies or any of
Yeah.
that.
All that good stuff. I know that's right. Well, I'm gonna pass the mic to Brother Moja because he always opens our show off in the same way, and I honor that routine and discipline part of our show. So you go ahead, Brother Moja.
Well, thank you, Dr. Walls. Can you
You're
hear me
welcome.
okay?
Yes, we can hear you just
Great.
fine.
Well, first and foremost, I greet everyone in the name of God and our ancestors, and whose footsteps we most humbly walk. As we sit here tonight, we honor those who came before us, especially our women who are life givers, for this is the month of Women's History Month. So we embrace that
Mm-hmm.
and we say Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
Shay, Shay.
Ashe. All right. Well, as everybody already know, they probably like, we already got it, Dr. Walls. Yes, get your notebooks, get your pens ready. Boom, boom, boom. We all know the dealio. And as you heard, Shay is usually on the other side, dropping stuff in the comments. And now she gets to hang out on this side of the world with us. And I am so excited for her to be here. She is someone who I have known and known about for many, many years now. And so to be able to share her with the world, I'm so excited for her to be here. So, Shay, let's let them hear your voice. Tell them a little about yourself up front, and then we'll start to peel back even more for them.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me on your podcast. I am an avid listener to both you and uh, Ed Emoja. And I just want to say, like, I love your chemistry. I love how transparent you guys are. I love how you bounce off of each other. And, I am engaged. And so I always look to couples for just vibes and how things work. So I
Hmm.
appreciate that too.
Yes.
Um, but I'm Shay Dawson. Well, my name is LaShayla, but I go by Shay. I am saying LaShayla a lot more these days because that's the name that my mother gave me. And I feel
Okay.
like I'm not honoring it if I don't say it. And I
Hmm.
used to not like it or not want to say it because people would make mistakes. They would say
Mm.
LaShayla, LaShiala. So I thought
Hmm.
shortening my name would be a lot easier. And then also on resumes, people could tell that I'm Black or that I'm, a
Hmm.
woman. And I feel like Shay
Hmm.
is kind of agnostic to all of that. So
Hmm.
that's why I started going by Shay. But now in my more woken enlightenment, I
Mm.
Shayla, my full beautiful name that my mother gave me.
Yes.
But I have been working in the sports industry for about 19 years.
Hmm.
And it has been a journey, and I have unpacked a lot of that with Dr. Walls over a span of time, and it's been really beautiful to kind of take what I've experienced in the sports industry and create kind of an ideology about how to work with athletes. So I work with athletes.
Hmm.
I'm head of athlete relations at a company called Overtime. But before that, I was head of athlete relations in my own household with my brother Malcolm, who played in the NBA for 4.5 years and has had a 13-year career overseas in different parts of Europe. And then I've had a little brother who went through um, I would say, era of NIL and
Hmm.
things like that. So I
Well,
learned.
explain what NIL means for our
Okay.
listeners.
So NIL, for those who are not, well versed in sports, is name, image, and likeness, which is essentially marketing. And
Hmm.
players used to play for free. Now they're able to charge for different parts of their services, whether that's lending
Hmm.
their face to a flyer and promoting an event or a game, or there's jersey sales in different arenas. Now younger kids, all the way from ages 13 and up, can make money from their name, image, and likeness, depending on how
Sounds
they
like business.
right? Depending on how
Hmm.
they market themselves, depending on how serious the child and their parent are in figuring out revenue streams and what they're willing to do.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
So now I'm gonna pause you right
okay,
there.
okay, cool.
People who are listening to this, if you know athletes And as she said, we're talking, wait, as young as what age?
13.
13.
I mean, you can go younger, but 13 is
You
like
can,
the average.
so right, so for real, right? Because we have bitty ball, we have the bitty leagues, we have all of these little things. If you know people who are athletes, you know the number of kids who talk about when I grow up, I want to dot dot dot. You need to contact those parents right now and get them to tune in to this show because this is a face and a name that you're going to want to know. Because this name, image, and likeness, short form NIL, has
Hmm.
totally changed the game in the past couple of years. It has become a game unto itself. All
I
right,
Yes.
mean,
go
you
ahead.
know, Dr. Walls, being I used to play sports back in my day, and I also,
Hmm.
I had friends, in track and field. I'm happy this has come around because for too many years, you had colleges, high schools, and you had companies making a lot of money on the skill sets of our children, of our people, not just
Hmm.
people Africa, just people of students. And I think now the NIA has leveled the playing field. And I think even though it has leveled the playing field, Ms. Dawson will say we still have to learn a lot about it because it troubled me to say like when you were a college student athlete, you could not get paid, but they were making so much money on your likeness and you playing for this, and
Mm.
you had to you had to hide to make money, so you didn't lose your scholarship, or you didn't, or the NCAA didn't hit you in your hand because you went out and you did this or that. I call, I used to call it
Wait a minute, brother. Wait a minute. Shay
modern
is
day
at the gate.
slavery.
Look, LaShayla's at the gate getting ready to come out. Go ahead, LaShayla. Go ahead. Let it loose.
I was just gonna say to his point really quickly is that it's been illegal. People have went to jail. People's lives have been ruined because
Hmm.
they haven't been able to make money, but they needed to, and so they found ways. To your point.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Hmm.
yeah. Sometimes I used to say it was modern day slavery because you were giving all this out and you wasn't getting nothing back. And if you try to run free, master will pull you back to the plantation, and give you some.
Hmm.
But I'm glad NIL has come and level the field. But Ms. Dawson, thank you so much for coming on tonight because I think there's a lot of parents that need to understand what NIL means to their household, not just
Yeah,
to their children, but to their household.
and their
Hmm.
generational wealth building.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Come on. Bring it
absolutely.
in. Bring it in.
Yeah, I think the reason why NIL excites me is because, like, if you can make money as early as 13, and you can pair that with the education, knowing that once your child hits that threshold where I think I think it's hard to understand the maturity of someone that early. And there are instances where parents do take advantage and maybe not sharing that wealth with their child or irresponsible with that wealth. So that is also a scary part of making money at a young age.
Hmm.
But I think for majority, I truly believe that humans are good. And so
Hmm.
I do think that it helps a lot of families to start to structure and build a team around
Hmm.
the family to make sure that they're making the right decisions,
Hmm.
and setting their kids up for certain things.
Yep.
And that necessary, it used to be go to college, but now you can build your own businesses, small businesses, creating t-shirts and merch through what your child is doing as well. And that way it gives you freedom to spend more time with family, to work in a family business. You can now pay your children out of that business, right?
Hmm.
The government allows you to pay X amount of dollars to, a family business. So,
Hmm.
your children can have, you know, um, a tax return and stuff like that. And I think that's super cool. So that's why I love NIL because, as Black people, we're behind when it comes to making money and to
Yes.
build true wealth. So to be able to do that at an early age, I
Yes.
don't think necessarily we can close the gap, but I think that we can work towards it. And that's what
Yes.
excites me about NIL because a lot of us, you, Dr. Walls, and myself, and you, Dr. Mojo,
Hmm.
we've played basketball, we've played
Hmm.
sport, and we never made a dime off
Not
of our
one.
equity. And so
Not one.
Hmm.
now you can kind of like take the data and measure it and say, hey, this is
Hmm.
what I'm worth, and people have to listen to you.
Yeah.
And I think I don't want to look to close the gap, but I say to myself, we're going to build our own bridge over the gap.
Mm-hmm.
because let the gap stay. We're going to
Yeah.
build our own bridge in the spirit of Kuchi Chakalea, self-determination. We're going to build our bridge over the gap and
Mm-hmm.
make it happen, make it work for
Mm-hmm.
us.
I love
Mm-hmm.
that because now you're not chasing anything. You're not even
No.
worried about the gap. You're just focused on the future. You're focused on the now. I really love that.
And
Mhm.
that's huge, right? And so from a track standpoint, and I tell everybody I was not on a track team. They had me try out 2 days. I lasted 2 days. The first day they said run a mile. I said no problem. The second day they said run 6 miles. I said I'm gonna go call my mom. Let me
Okay.
it's time to get picked up because I don't understand how we went from 1 to 6.
Nobody got time.
So right, but but with that, what I do know is that they tell you to keep your eyes focused. Right, find your goal, stay focused, and that's with anything.
You always say that.
I talk about
You
goal
always say,
goal
don't look left,
101.
don't look right.
Don't That's right, right? Because the moment you do that, you've taken your eyes off of the goal. And so if your goal is about closing the gap, your goal is constantly on the gap,
Yeah.
right? And as if anybody was listening to yesterday's show on Wealth Wednesday with Brian Brogan, it was, the whole idea is that the money will go, right? The energy will
Mhm.
flow where you give it attention. And
Yeah.
Correct.
so if it's
Mhm.
about generational wealth, then that's where you're putting the money to. And to your point, a lot of resources and how to allocate money, how to manage money, and so forth has not been taught. They don't teach it to us in school. At least, now I've been out of elementary
No,
school
they
for a
don't.
couple of decades, but they didn't teach you how to generate more. They didn't teach you how to make your money work for you. So when I look at these young women, and we're going to talk about your influence in the creation of leagues that is taking the world by storm. We could pretend and say the nation, but literally the world by storm. We look at some of our college athletes and female athletes who are saying, I'm fine with being a social influencer right now because financially, I'm making more money doing this than I would if I went to the NBA. And we already know the situation with Brittany and how she chose to go play overseas
Yeah.
because financially she would make more in a summer or during the time off the season break than she would make in what was deemed the professional industry here. So go ahead. I'm gonna pass the mic to you, Shay. I know I gave you a lot to jump off of.
Correct. I mean, we can, there's so many ways to go with that. Um, Again, and even that she has to put herself in that situation,
Mm-hmm.
what happened to her safety is threatened. And
Mm-hmm.
so it doesn't necessarily make sense that we couldn't find a way for these women to make money while they're here.
Yes.
But again, that's where creating the leagues that you're talking about, that's what's so exciting about me being a part of a beautiful process like that with me and my colleagues is that
Mm-hmm.
we're now again going younger and creating a funnel
A
of
journey
how
map.
a journey map, yes, that our new coin term.
Yes.
um, we are creating a journey map to essentially reach the Mount Rushmore of
Mm-hmm.
your sport,
That's
right?
right.
And then we don't only stop at the Mount Rushmore, we're looking over the peak as well
Come
and
on.
seeing how everything along that journey can literally take you to above and beyond the valley,
Mm-hmm.
and where your second life can come in.
Mm-hmm.
And your first life is your athletic life because
Mm-hmm.
you spend all your waking time more than your parents. But then
Mm-hmm.
your second life is everything that you've learned, a culmination of all your experiences. And now the
Mm-hmm.
money that you've made, the things that you've learned, you can now take that into your second life and pour into your family, your own
Yes.
family that you create,
Yes.
your own children, and then also explain to your children what it took to get there, which is also generational wealth too. That experience, it's a generational wealth experience, the
Yes.
money. And so I think that we'll see the new athlete emerge now with these new leagues. I know there's another league that popped up for like if you're not in the WNBA, you can still do this. I forget what it's called. I think it's like Aura Hoops or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know the full name, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing more things pop up that
Okay.
athletes can participate in the States
Yes.
versus having to leave to make money because NIL
Yes.
is the wild, wild west right now, that
Yes.
everyone's trying to grab at straws on how they can pull in these different personalities
Yeah.
that, maybe they're so-called not WNBA players, but they still
Mhm.
have that same gravitas. They still have the same influence, that sphere of
Yeah.
influence.
Yeah.
And it's just sitting there. So they're trying to figure out a way to harness all of that. So it's a
Mhm.
really great time in sport for someone to build their brand and be a
Come
brand
on.
and make content and
Yes.
show people what they're working on,
Yes.
outside of basketball. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah. So let's do this because there's so many ways, and I know Brother Emoji. I know his mind is bubbling too with all of it. Let's just take a moment. Tell people what overtime is.
Okay, Overtime is a sports media company. We used to make content about athletes, but now we create disruptive sport IP, which are leagues, and we have several leagues now. We have Overtime Boxing, which is called OTX.
Mhm.
We have OT7, which is 7-on-7 football. We have now Overtime Select, which I'm working on with my colleagues, which is super exciting, and that's for young girls in high school. We're going as
For
young
basketball.
for basketball.
Mhm.
Yep, basketball, and freshmen through 11th grade. And then we have OTE, which started out as a professional league, which has now transitioned into a league for the elite athletes, male athletes going into college, into the
Mhm.
NCAA. So before you forfeit your college eligibility to receive a salary, pay for play, now NIL has changed some rules, some laws in different states, and now they're able to maintain their college eligibility so they can come get the best training, get the best facilities, the best process, the best pre-pro process, then go
Mhm.
off to college and then go to the NBA. So
Mhm.
now we have this nexus of all these leagues that are elite training and developing these players, almost like a European model, a little bit,
Mhm.
that allow these players to only focus on their sport with focus in studies as well. But mainly, there's no helmet, there's none of that because everyone can see their face. We create the content, we get brand partners, we have sponsorship dollars. And so it's like a whole beautiful, it's like an oasis of content, an oasis
Mhm.
of sport, and it's fun.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
fun and it's for young people,
Mhm.
Gen Z, Gen Alpha. I mean, even
Mhm.
millennials like me, extreme, we're
Mhm.
like obsessed with it, and so it's not frowned upon to make content. So if you see somebody in the OT arena or on the field making content, you're just like, that's what we do here. It's not frowned upon.
Mhm.
So that's the lovely thing about it.
Okay. So, Brother Moji, you have a question?
Um, I'm gonna say, I would say, now listen to what you said, and I'm from the Caribbean, right? So I'm
Yeah,
always looking at how does NIL go in? Does it have a leg in the Caribbean?
I think so, but it depends
Because
on it depends on some people who come from overseas cannot get paid in the States.
Mm.
So let's say like the first time we brought international players over, they had to fly to Canada in order to get paid.
Mhm.
So it just depends on the international laws when it comes to working, the work visa. What are the stipulations there? So yes, but also it's tricky, if that makes sense.
Mhm. There's a question here from Nurse Courtney. She said, "Is there a recruitment or application process for the OT program?"
Yes, there is a recruitment process, and chances are the thing is it's so exclusive that you'll know if you're on their radar or not. Just like the
Mm.
NBA. Like if your child is not playing in a certain set of system games, meaning like there's EYBL,
Mhm.
there's Adidas 3SSB. These different things are competing against each other, and they have scouts there that report back and
Mhm.
say these are the best kids. They get ranked. They also get invited to other branded games like McDonald's All American,
Mhm.
the Jordan Blank Classic, the
Mhm.
Iverson Classic. And so
Mhm.
if you're not a part of that system, chances are you won't come to a place like OTE, because it is a 1%. You have to be in the 1%, which is not easy.
Mhm.
Um, and then there's also opportunity to play in our affiliate leagues. So we have teams in-house at Overtime Elite, but we also have teams that are affiliate teams with prep schools that have branded their team names in conjunction with ours. And so it's a pretty elite space. And so these
Mhm.
are the best of the best athletes. So there is a recruiting process, but you'll, it's like if you know, you know, like you'll
Mhm.
know if they're coming after you.
So, I think about, I have my younger brother, he was a D1 football player. Um, I was an athlete, but I came right at the cusp before there was much to do after college, right?
Yeah.
So the best I could do was get a scholarship to pay for college
Yeah.
and then go to the Olympics, right? And that was it. And so I remember having that hard conversation with myself, right? I've been taking honest inventory a long time. And so I
I love it.
remember saying to myself, like, what are you going to do? And talking with my parents, like, do you need me to play this sport to pay for school? And they said, no, we don't need you to do that. Like, if you want to play it, you play it, but if you don't want to play it, we got you. And so, and that was very important because I needed to know how to contribute to the family,
Yeah.
right? So I had an older brother who went to an Ivy and no scholarships, right? So that's a whole bunch coming out the pocket.
Right.
And
Correct.
I'm looking at my father and I'm saying, this person is generating and paying these tuition, right? And so, how do I contribute? And then I have a younger brother who came up and he's known, he's ranked throughout the nation and so forth. And he's saying, I'm getting a scholarship because I don't want my parents to have to pay for school.
Hmm.
Now, we're thinking about these things. We're in high school, we're 16, 15, 14, right? So now here you have kids who are, if I'm thinking this 30 some years ago, there's kids who are thinking about it now and they're seeing so much on social media, and there's life beyond just the NBA and the WNBA. Like, we didn't even talk about the G League,
I
right?
know.
We didn't even talk about the semi-pro. And I had a cousin who played overseas, here, semi-pro leagues. I got all types of shirts with teams that people ain't never heard of.
Right.
Go ahead. I mean, so there is this world of sports that many times people don't know, and they don't know how to even tap into it.
Yeah. I will say that it's kind of the one of those things where it's not equal opportunity.
Hmm.
And to be transparent with people, I think is very valuable for people who want to participate in this ginormous system, from merch to
Hmm.
sponsorship dollars to agents to management to marketing. It is such, I honestly think that if sports didn't exist, I don't think that the world would exist, because
Mm.
every time I look at the map of what sports means to the world, how it brings people together, how it could divide people depending on which team you cheer for. It seems like it's a microcosm of like the world and
Hmm.
all the different compartments. And so when I look at sports, people sometimes think, oh, it's just a game, but actually, no, it's actually life,
Yeah.
It's like,
right? I
Yep.
see you nodding your head, Ed. What you got?
no, I'm just listening to you. I, when when you leave the United States and you go overseas to different countries, you get a different a different love, a different respect for sports.
Yeah,
Because, for example, in some countries, in many countries, like when World Cup soccer, football soccer is going on,
yeah,
some companies close their doors those days. They close, said, we can't get any work done, we know that, so let me just give them days off so they could go home and enjoy. And then you have the communities coming together, and you talk about building revenue. They have all kinds, like, you talk about like these these huge luncheons, and you see people in these, all this stuff is going on because of a football slash soccer game. Um, and so when you leave this country and you see the impact,
that's what I'm
we
saying.
we get a slight taste of it with the Super Bowl, but that's just one game.
Hmm.
Okay, and you get a slight taste of what happens in this country when the Super Bowl happens. You take that and you multiply by several games in World Cup soccer,
Hmm.
and then you say that impacts many countries.
Oh
Then
yeah,
you get a understanding of the economics
Hmm.
behind
Hmm.
sports. When you're in this country, it's like, yeah, and then you go to work the next one. But these people, it's like a different world when you leave this country and you look at
A
sports
whole
outside
different
this
life.
country, and that's like all they have.
Yeah.
Literally, that's all they have.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I think yeah, it is
I
very, it's very
saw
powerful.
Netflix. I saw a Netflix documentary on what you're talking about, where remember I think the games went to Qatar, and
Mhm.
it was like a huge deal. And there was one little small country in there. It was I want to say was it an African country? It was some country that had this like it had a powerful like I don't know fan base or something.
Mhm.
But to the point of if there was no football,
Mhm.
there is no world. There is no
Mhm.
economic. There is no peace.
Hmm.
There is no nothing because
Mhm.
the world soccer, the World Cup, and all of that, that literally bridges like nations.
Mhm.
We literally
Mhm.
will say, okay, yeah, we like
Yeah.
you. You know
Yeah.
what? We're gonna do business together because I like how your team plays.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
Mhm.
powerful.
When you take your employees to a game and it
Mhm.
gives you this prestige. So when people say it's just a game, I'm like,
Yeah.
I haven't seen evidence of it just being a
I'm
game
just
because
being a game.
people have been able to feed their families. People have been
Mhm.
able to reach heights of, celebrity and all of these things, change
Hmm.
the world.
Mhm.
Um,
Hmm.
like think about all the power that athletes hold when
Hmm.
they endorse things, when they say things, and
Yeah.
influence. And so for me, I love the human aspect of this business, which is why I'm in it, which is why I've been talking to Dr. Walls about the Shea Dawson experience, which is the best possible human experience person to person, which
Mhm.
led me to believe how I add value to all of the jobs I've ever had. Is because if everything we just said is true and it generates revenue, it matters how you treat those people so that you can
Yes.
continue to have those people in your organization, in your camp,
Hmm.
your
Mhm.
tournament, in the World Cup, in the NBA. If you treat them like crap and you don't have things planned out and you don't things having a system that makes their lives easier
Hmm.
to do those things, then you
Mhm.
don't have revenue. You don't have a team. You
Mhm.
don't have a functional system. So I've
Mhm.
been able to humbly be a part of the system and try to fix it from within
Mhm.
and then extract the information and then educate everyone on their journey. So it's been really cool
Mhm.
process to kind of understand the world of sport and how it affects everybody. Honestly, even if you don't like sports, it still affects
Yeah,
you.
that's I was just about to say. Even though you're not a person who follows sports, it affects your job
Yeah.
Mhm.
because if you have a job where you're producing a product,
Yep.
when you have an athlete come in to endorse that, all of a sudden you are making more money because now you had to work overtime to make more product because the athlete endorsed it. Now more people are buying it, and because more people are buying it, now you're making more
Come
money
on.
in overtime, and
Come
you're
on.
saying, "Oh, I don't like sports."
Come
No, you
on.
don't like sports. So it's like everything is. I always say everything is interconnected. You might
Mhm.
not like it, but it is into some people say, "Oh, I don't like." I was in the Caribbean in my homeland, and I was at the airport waiting to pick somebody up for our film festival. And a sergeant of police came. I said, "Yeah, I'm here for the film festival." He looked at me. He said, "Oh, I don't. My wife and I, we're Christians. We don't watch TV." And I was like, "But wait a second. But television are bringing people here, bringing people to this country for a lot of things that's going to give you money to." Oh, you're working. He works as a police officer, so now you're getting overtime because of these people coming into your country.
Yeah.
So you might not watch it, but it's affecting your income.
Mhm.
And so when we look at it, we might not like it, but if you stop and you think, what do you do for a living, and how does sports impact it? Then you
Mhm.
see why it's such a powerful business.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. And Shay, you mentioned with your experience and what you do is helping the families as well as the individuals really have a better understanding of the scope and the holistic
Mhm.
picture.
Yeah. So basically, what it boils down to is, I mean, people know it as customer experience, CX, or
Mhm.
UX, user experience, depending on if it's digital or if it's in person.
Mhm.
So the way I've been able to break it down is that, and go back to your point about journey mapping, is that if I have, if I consistently live in your shoes and understand what you go through, I can serve you better. And so the
Mhm.
reason why I started in the industry is because my mom was a single mother. I played basketball, but I knew I didn't want to play professional. So I knew that I knew I was breaking up with basketball before it broke up with me.
Mhm.
And my brother, I forgot because our fathers weren't in our life growing up, but my brother's dad was 6'9". So
Oh, wow.
I went to college. My brother he was about 6'2", which is
Mhm.
like tall, but it's not life-changing tall. When I
Mhm.
came back from college, he was 6'9". Okay. And being recruited, or I won't say come back. I actually was still in college. But I would get calls that he's getting recruited by all these amazing schools, Boston College,
Mhm.
UCLA, San Diego State, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
So I got really excited because I was like, oh my God, I just went through this process. I also have this love for humans that I've been helping the guys on the guys team try to hire agents. And, I just been going through this whole practice with them. And now I get to deploy that with my brother. So having that experience with my mom, not really having the education about what goes into the pro process, and
Mhm.
then having that love for my brother and wanting to find out and being very curious. When I came home from college, I was the one with my mom interviewing coaches, taking because they have in-home visits. So they come to your house, they ask you
Yep.
questions, they talk to you real sweet, like, they say what they can
Mhm.
offer you. So
Mhm.
we had several coaches come and sit on our couch and tell us what they were willing to give us.
Yes.
So that's where my mind starts to be curious, like, my brother, like big old head Malcolm over
Right.
here, know, you're willing to give us this for him?
Yes.
So that's when I started to realize what type of business this was. And
Mhm.
coming from my situation, I went to a small D1 school. Ain't nobody offered me nothing. But now that I'm with my brother, I realize I am his manager. I am his middle person. It's my job
Mhm.
to go find the information, to vet the people, to
Yes.
let my mom know, hey, I asked around about this coach. He's known for developing this type of player. My brother was a
Mhm.
small forward, which is like an agile, post player, but also one that can get on the wing and defend wings as well. He
Mhm.
had like a huge wingspan. I can't remember his
The feet.
measurements,
Mhm.
but he had a huge wingspan. He had big hands. And I knew that. So all those things on him, his limbs, everything became of value. And
Yep.
so when he has a wingspan that's like this, colleges are checking the boxes, or scouts, or whoever, right?
Mhm.
When he's able to run really fast down the court, they're positioning him in a way. So everything has money to it. This
Mm-hmm.
means
Mm-hmm.
money. How fast he is, how athletic he is means money. So I
How
started
high he can jump.
right? How high he can jump. And
Mhm.
then now, because he's Black, if he can articulate himself
Mhm.
and, speak on podcasts and be a personality, that's another amount of money that he can make. So I really started to understand, like, okay, this is a business now. And me and my mom have to get really educated on who's handling him at this next phase,
And
and
really fast.
really fast
Educated very fast because
and
this is
very fast.
happening fast and you're getting offers and it's nonstop. Go ahead.
Correct. And so as we started to trust in these people, because you have to truly give your trust. I don't know if you're a good person. I can believe everything you're sitting on the couch and telling me. Luckily, we had a really great coaching staff at San Diego State with Coach Fisher, Coach Dutch, and Coach Hutchison. They were really amazing. And Tony Bland. Tony Bland is a guy. And they were really great with Malcolm. They developed him.
Mhm.
They poured into him, and they really recruited other players that complemented his personality because he's an introvert. And then
Mhm.
he had a roommate, Kawhi Leonard, who was also an introvert. So it was two introverts thriving together. They were very much alike. They were interchangeable in position, which was really dope. So just to see that
Mhm.
whole process of what my mom had to go through, what I had to go through, I then flipped that on its head and learned more about each player. And every player, I just saw my brother's head. So each player, I'd be like, I can help, I can help, I can help. I've done this, I've done this. And so I would say Isaiah Thomas, Paul George, Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, like you name it. And I've been at that place where I just want to help them and I just want to be there for them. I just want to wayfind. And so seeing their process, seeing them develop through the game and understand what they have to go through and their families have to go through, that gave me the expertise to say, I can explain it. I can articulate what needs to be
Mhm.
done. And
Mhm.
sometimes they, trust you, and sometimes they choose other people, and sometimes they grow out of, they
Mhm.
age out of the process of even taking information or taking advice. But at the end of the day, that's why I've gone younger, because At a certain point, people have to figure it out for themselves, or they want to figure it out for themselves.
Yes.
At least I can deploy that information young, so that some things that have happened to my brother, or a Ben Simmons or anybody that's happened, I can say I've witnessed it, and
Hmm.
let me give you some information just to inform your decision on what you do.
Yeah. Now, only if you're allowed, are you able to name and mention some of the athletes who you have seen grow from younger versions into where they are now?
Absolutely, absolutely. I would say the latest one is Scooter Henderson. He is from Marietta, Georgia. Was drafted number 3 overall. We did a feature with him at Overtime when he was young and bright and bushy-tailed and shy, and to see him now doing commercials and shoe launches, and
Mhm.
he's got his swag on the Fits page on Instagram and walking red carpets. And they have a family called, they call it Henderson Seven. So they have 7
Mhm.
siblings. They're all dynamic, all amazing, and they were what I think about when I think about generational wealth. So
Mhm.
I just feel so humble when families like them, their mom Crystal, their dad Chris, when they allow me to come in and just kind of like share my knowledge, story tell, and then they
Mhm.
apply that to what they're doing. And I remember sitting in their backyard one day, right before the draft process, and it was Chris's birthday, their dad's birthday, and Scooter was playing in the G League, so they lived in Las Vegas, and everyone had smiles on their face. We were eating cake. It was just a beautiful display, and I literally started crying because I thought every Black family who goes through this they deserve this. And it was
Mhm.
so beautiful. Crystal, the mom, had on a beautiful dress, and she was just, her hair was done, and the daughters were looking amazing. And it was just a beautiful display of, like, they worked so hard, they sacrificed so much
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
one of their children to extend to this. And when one makes it, they all make it.
All make it.
Right.
Mhm.
And so that's
Mhm.
what I work for every day, is I just want Black families to experience that. They put so much
Yeah.
into it. They put their trust into so many people, and you're not always receiving of that reciprocity. And so
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
it was a reciprocal relationship. I got to
That's
see them grow
beautiful.
and evolve through the process, and then I
Yeah.
got filled up, and say, like, dang, like, that's why I do this. This is so great.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then he invited me to the draft, and I got to sit in the suite with them and the after party, and just, hug them and love on them for so long. And
Mhm.
now to see them, it's just, like, so beautiful. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's a
yeah.
big
I mean, I
one.
can name a lot, but that was the one that sticks out to me the
That's
most.
the one that sticks out. Any other ones,
Yeah.
either in the NBA, the WNBA?
I was gonna go WNBA. So Jordan Canada. Jordan Canada, I was a high school coach, a basketball coach for 10 years at a school called Windward in Los Angeles. And we won so much, I had to move on. I was like, I can't win another championship. I literally was like, I just looked at my rings in there. It's like we won, and then they transferred to this model called the Open Division, where you used to win like Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, Division 4, Division 5, right? And then the Open Division is any of those divisions. If you're the best of the best in that division, you go in the Open Division. We won the Open Division. I said, okay,
Yeah.
if we're in the Open Division, I'm not learning. You're not learning. So that's when I made the transition to the NBA. But Jordan Canada, she was one of the best players I've ever coached in my entire life,
Mhm.
men or women. Um, and man or woman, excuse me. And
Mhm.
she actually just got traded to the Dream in Atlanta, where I live. So I'm super
Oh.
excited. But Jordan was very shy, but she was a very dynamic player who didn't really, she needed to be coached in practice, but when it came to the game,
Mhm.
she didn't need anything. She was, am I running? I'm running box, I'm running flex. I'm like, like
Yes.
she just saw the court differently. And
Yes.
so when she went to she went to UCLA. And
Mhm.
so we got to go see her play and watch her play there when I lived in LA. And
Mhm.
then she got drafted to Seattle Storm, and she won a championship there. She backed up Sue Bird, which is crazy.
Wow.
So, like, all the people that idolize along the way, and then to actually ascend to the point where you're like, they're your teammates and you're backing them
Mhm.
up. Now you're
Mhm.
starting because she's hurt, and then winning a championship. She just won MVP overseas on an Australian team.
Wow.
And it's like, that's little Jordan. You know
Right.
what I mean? So the world sees them this way, and then you're just like, you just know like the intricacies of who they are and what they've taken to get there. And so again, like that's why I do it. And it's like that's what keeps
Yeah.
me going is um, I could have a small part and a small effect on any of these athletes. Um,
Hmm.
it just gives me so much joy.
Now I have two more questions, but Brother Moja, I want to know, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I'm just listening. I just hope people who are listening to this are taking notes and are sharing the link
Hmm.
because so what Sister Dawson is saying, this is touching people right now. This process of
Yeah.
NIL is touching people right now who have teenagers or preteens in their house.
Hmm.
And they're scratching their head. It's like, oh my God, what should I do? So, and
Hmm.
they got to go through a master class in 3 weeks. So hopefully, if you know someone, a family member, or friend, or neighbor who have a very talented youth, and they're in the process of this NIL thing going on, you have heard a lot about because of what Brother Prime Time has done in Colorado and all
Right.
this thing that's going on, and
Right.
you're still lost. It's
Hmm.
understandable. So please share the link with people. And help them help their family because
Hmm.
this is very important. This is very important to our family members because all of a sudden it has changed the feel, the game,
Hmm.
because it was a long time ago just let me try to get a scholarship
Yeah.
to get to school.
Yeah.
Right.
Now it's not that anymore.
Right.
Nowadays, you
And
got more ways of getting money to get to school if you want to go to that school. So please share the link and listen to what she's saying because she's dropping some nuggets here for the family, so they could definitely
hmm
help. Please, please, please.
yeah, and I think what's so important, and that was my younger brother, my D1 player, saying so true
Right.
to everything. And Brian just actually did a presentation. Brian, put in the chat where you just did a presentation. I think it was University of Virginia on NIL.
Yeah.
So, but here, as you talked about, there is a quickness of learning that needs to happen with the athlete,
Yeah.
but also the family, because the family, oh, Norfolk State, he said, thank you, Brian. Um, that with the family that has to learn, because I know when Brian was being recruited back in the 90s, right, he was being flown out all over the place. And he said, I need my sister. So I laugh when you talk about it. He was like, I need my sister to go with me.
Right.
Right. And
Hmm.
so here I am. And they're like, well, did you use any of your eligibility? I said, no, I didn't. They said, well, are you interested in using your eligibility? Because we'll
Package
take the
deal.
both of you.
Package deal.
Right. What are
Yep.
you interested in doing? And I was like, well, I want to be a psychologist, but I'm also interested in law school. Oh, we can make that happen. Right. So now the deal is getting sweeter
Ding.
across the family. And
Yeah.
it's like somebody has to stay grounded in this to
Yes.
make sure that the best outcome is
That's the
going
key.
to happen,
That's
right? But
Yep.
we didn't have a you to navigate it, right? So we had to learn how to navigate it ourselves. Brian ended up, his senior project ended up being how to help students navigate this recruitment
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
So, kudos to you for recognizing one, that it was a gap, and then doing the due diligence to then create spaces and experiences and education for families going forward. And now in this digital age, things are moving so much faster than it was before. And to be able to have a trusted resource becomes even more challenging because people are looking at these 10, 12, 8 year olds. I mean, we've seen some clips with 8-year-old
Yeah. We have.
players, and people are looking at them and they're seeing dollar signs.
Yeah.
They're not seeing a child, they're not seeing a developing human being,
Right.
they're seeing money to the future, and parents have to be careful of those sharks that are out there as well.
Yeah. It's impossible to. You will come across them. I will say, if your
Mhm.
child is talented and people are contacting you, there will be a chance that you'll come across some. But the key is to move slow, to not take everything that comes just because they offer you something. Is to
Say it
take
again. Say it again.
is to not move too fast, to
Mm-hmm.
date. If someone wants to offer you something, entertain them, listen to them, talk to them. Most of the time, if they talk too much,
Mm-hmm.
chances are that's a huge red flag. If they're offering you what they can give you, what they can give you, what they can give you, if they're offering too much up front,
Mm-hmm.
chances are they're trying to make sure that you're indebted to them,
Mm.
to make you feel insecure. And, I did this for you, I did that for you. Just take your time. You can, if you get hit up in a direct message or, hey, Shirley, I got your number from so-and-so. Hey, how you doing? Take the phone call, listen to what they have to say. If you can take notes, take notes.
Mm-hmm.
But just let them know we're not at that process yet. Pump your brakes. Like we're not there yet.
And
And
if you need them to repeat it, tell them to repeat it. And it don't matter how many times you tell them to repeat it. Let me tell you, Nafis is over on the Instagram side of life talking about say it again, exclamation point, capitalized letters. He said the way of walls and the Shea Dawson Experience. So yes,
literally,
that's right. Yeah, but you do because this sports language for many people is a different language.
oh yeah. And
And
it's
so
it's
go,
sexy.
come on,
It's attractive.
y'all.
Your mind will start spending money you haven't made.
Come on. And it is seductive.
And when you
It,
take that money, you are indebted to them. You
yes,
almost sign over your life. So you have to
yes,
be very careful for every dollar you
yes,
take and who you align yourself with.
yes.
Because sometimes you might align yourself with somebody that cuts off another deal.
Come on.
So don't do deals, in perpetuity. Don't do deals that are exclusive. Try to get one-offs. Try to get, feel how it is to work with someone before you sign away every single thing that you
Yes,
have,
yes,
because they will use your name, image, and likeness and some
yes.
for a long time, way
For
before your shoes could be, you could be hurt, your shoes could be hanging up in the closet, you could be 30, you could have 5 kids, and they're still using your name, image, and likeness to sell things.
yes,
So you have to be careful, move slow.
yes.
And if you have to ask 8,000 people, do you know this person? Do you know this person? And collect all the information,
Come on. And read.
I
and
mean, so
read.
what?
Reading is fundamental. And I don't care how long the paper is. Like whenever my social influencers call me, they say, this is a deal that I've been given. I say, okay, give me time. And I read through everything. And Evan and I read something the other day, and it said that we will be in control of your stuff for 50 years. 50. 50 years. And then the imperfect, I always have trouble saying it. Say it again,
In
Shay.
perpetuity.
In perpetuity. Tell people what that means. And I have a story for that one.
It means infinity. It means forever.
Yes,
It doesn't end. It means
it
that
does
I
Doesn't
not.
it?
own you forever and ever and ever and
That's
ever
right.
and ever.
And they will slide that in. And a family ended up dealing with that Edmund and I know. And the child, they were so excited that their child was in this commercial. And the commercial is hilarious. It's a great commercial. He was a little kid at the time. And they were so excited that he had this acting gig that they signed it. And lo and behold, that's what it said. They had no idea that he would then be on a hit TV show on CBS for many years. So now they are making money off of his name, image, and likeness from something that they didn't know the full
Hmm.
scope of when he was a little person in single digits.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
go ahead.
think as we're talking about this and people who are listening once again, please, um if they ask you to sign, say give me some time. If they say no, then it's a blessing. Because if it's
Hmm.
good today, it'll be good tomorrow.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Okay.
exactly.
And I always say people say, yeah, we need an answer now. I say, well, you want the answer right now. The answer is no. I always tell people that. People, Mr. Herman, we need an answer right
He
now. I say,
didn't
oh, you
say
do?
that
Okay,
to
the answer is
me,
no.
y'all. He didn't say that to me. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do your due diligence,
Yes.
hire
Yeah.
somebody to red line if you feel like you just need to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
understanding or change some things, like, because it's not the company's job to do that for you.
For you.
The
Exactly.
company is
Yes.
a business. And
Yes.
so if you want something from us, we want something from you, we're going
Yes.
to do our due diligence. And
That's
we're
right.
also going to give you time to do your due diligence.
That's
Yeah.
And so just think that it's not for the company. Now, everybody should, have practice, morals and things like that. But
Mhm.
do your due diligence. If you need to red line and send it back, if it doesn't work, they'll communicate and say, you know what, that doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
But as long as you get what you need out of the situation, it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So if you're getting something and they're getting something, just make sure that you're getting something too. That's what
That's
I
right.
always
Yeah.
say. Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
there are people who,
Mhm.
who have my name, image, and likeness in perpetuity. But I
Mhm.
also either wanted that to be the case, I want to be
Mhm.
associated with that forever, or it's one of those situations where maybe I'll get a kickback or maybe I can always do
Mhm.
something with them. Maybe I always have a
Mhm.
door open. So it just depends on what you want. But again, taking your time, asking
Mhm.
professionals in your
Yeah.
life, could
Mhm.
you look over this or could you recommend someone? And don't be afraid to
Mhm.
spend money on a lawyer. Don't be afraid to spend
Come
money.
on.
Don't be afraid to spend money on something that's important to you, that's
Yes.
going to give you at 10x on your return.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think a
Yeah.
lot of times too, a lot of families just don't want to spend any money, don't want to spend no dollars.
Mhm.
It's like, well, that's not
Mhm.
how it works. Like
Mhm.
if I need therapy, or if I need this or my knee hurts or I need to, to go to the dentist, I got to pay for
Mhm.
that. But that's something that's
Mhm.
valuable to me, my health. And
Yeah.
so your financial health should be important to you too, and you should
Yeah.
spend money on it.
Yeah.
I love. We watched. I think was it Air, which was the Michael
I was
Jordan
just about
story
to talk about that.
with
How it's
Viola Davis,
So good.
right?
yeah.
That if you haven't seen that, if you are a
So
parent
good.
of an athlete, that is definitely one that
Yeah.
I recommend you see because Viola was very clear as playing Michael Jordan's mother. She was not jumping at everything. She understood the value of her son, his name, the brand. She understood
Before
all of that
NIL.
before NIL,
I know.
right? Right? And so there are books, there's documentaries, there's
Thank
stories.
God for his mother.
Oh
Seriously.
my goodness,
Yeah, she
right?
she she did for him what I said before NIL, and you talk about he's living off that
Oh,
what she did for him before
Mhm.
he even became an NBA player,
Mhm.
right? And what she did, what she asked for, and when she made Nike do, I mean, you sit there and you look and you read the story, you're like, wait a second, this woman did this before NIL and all this
Mhm.
stuff. So if she could do that back then,
She had the foresight.
um, we could do it. We could do it today.
Yeah.
Because I
Go
and that's
ahead,
what the
Shay.
thing. Go ahead, Shay.
I would say too, the other part of that from sitting in an athlete relations chair is that Sonny Vaccaro.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Sonny Vaccaro, when people see you the way Sonny Vaccaro saw Mike,
Yeah.
that's when you have to listen.
Come
He
on.
was willing to do what he needed to do to sign Michael Jordan. So
Mhm.
although Michael Jordan's mother was amazing, Sonny Vaccaro said, I see you.
Yes.
Mhm.
I see value in you. I'm willing to come to your house. I'm willing to sell my car. I'm willing to put my job on the line. And
Yes.
Mhm.
that's the kind of energy that you want when people are coming after you. It's like, dang, like I love that about Sonny Vaccaro. And
Mhm.
Sonny Vaccaro is very, very, very pivotal and important in NIL because he was the one too driving that. I won't say he's the first because there were a lot of people that, don't get
Mhm.
recognition, but Sonny Vaccaro was definitely one of the pioneers in the NIL space,
Mhm.
um, who saw, and he was responsible for a ton of athletes, LeBron, Jeremy
Mhm.
Tyler, a lot of athletes he's helped advise on the back end when it comes to
Mhm.
those shoe deals and stuff like that. But having someone with a vision like that and that invigoration to just do whatever, his
Yeah.
mom was impressed by how much Sonny Vaccaro believed in her
Yes.
His
son,
son.
which
Yes.
allowed them to work together for the
Yes.
common good of the athlete.
Yes.
So just see what kind of energy, that company or that person
Mhm.
that's pursuing you has, just
Mhm.
like if you're getting married. I'm sure
Mhm.
Ed had to do a couple things to
Oh
get
yeah.
Kathleen Walls, okay? Because
Yeah,
my girl, I just already know. So if
yeah. I took it to a vegan. I took it to a vegan cheese stick. It was a done deal. Vegan cheesesteak, vegan cheesecake, Philly.
like I know what my fiance did to get me, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know what I was thinking a long time ago, but what he just did,
Come
that's
on.
love. Like
Yes,
that's
it
that's
was.
who I'm gonna invest in as well.
Yes.
So make sure that that
Mhm.
person that's pursuing you has that energy. Like
Yeah.
if I don't have this person, the world is over. So
That's right. That's right. And
yeah,
trust your gut, right?
exactly.
Because there are some people who are talking, but you're not feeling as though, to your point, they see you. and have
Hmm.
your best interest for you in the long run. And one of the things that I will say about LaShayla, and I'm gonna call you by your government name in this case, right? That right, she wants things for you, not just from you.
Oh my God. It just makes, yes. Oof, that just makes me choke up. Because it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I don't know why it's like that, but I just see my brother, I just see my
Yes.
mom, and I love them so much. And
Yes.
so making other people's lives easier really fills me up. And
Hmm.
I think that's literally the passion that you have to have. Like I say, like I feel like I have Sonny Vaccaro passion when it comes to wanting that
Hmm.
for that person.
Hmm.
Because when you see like a seed in someone that just needs to be watered and cultivated,
Hmm.
you're curious about what they can become.
Yep.
And I see that all the time. And I'm like, oh, if they just did
Hmm.
this, if they just did that.
Hmm.
But not also to be too pushy either, because some people are like, it's cool, like, I'm okay.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
yeah, I do really care and do
Yeah.
want the best for everybody that I work with.
Hmm.
And I get it back. It's definitely reciprocal. It's definitely a
Yeah.
reciprocal situation. So I really try to go deep when making relationships in the
Yeah.
industry.
So now people have had a chance to hear you, they've had a chance to meet you a little bit here.
Yeah.
If they want to know more about you, if they want to contact you, if they want you to come speak on panels, if they want to find out more about overtime, what are their best next steps?
I would say follow me. I'm LaShayla on everything. LaShayla on Twitter, LaShayla on Instagram, and LaShayla on TikTok. But
Hmm.
I would say I'm on Instagram mainly, and that's better. You're better having my Instagram than my phone number, to be
Hmm.
honest.
Hmm.
And you can also email me too at shaydawson11@gmail.com. But I would say Instagram is the best way to contact me.
Okay.
And I
And
share a lot of things that I'm doing on that page
hmm,
as well.
definitely, definitely. Any upcoming events where I know you just had an opportunity to speak recently at
At
Morehouse?
Morehouse, which was amazing. It
Mhm.
just made me want to teach at an HBCU. Like growing up in California, you don't get pushed to HBCUs. I don't even know if there's any in California. Um,
That's a good
if you guys
question.
know, I don't know. I don't think
I
there
don't
are,
know
but
either. I have to do a quick search.
we don't get pushed to HBCUs. Well, I didn't when I was in college. I mean, when I
Mhm.
was in high
In
school
high
going to
school.
college. So
Mhm.
it was never on my mind or my heart to do it. And so
Mhm.
when I started to move closer to, I left San Diego to go to Pittsburgh, then I moved to LA and then to Philly. When I got to Philly and I met fiance over there, he talked about wanting to go to HBCU so bad. And I didn't really understand like, but speaking on that stage, seeing the confidence
Mhm.
of the students and
Mhm.
how they talked about themselves, where they were going, just really like made me understand like how safe they felt to chase their
Mhm.
dreams without all the
Mhm.
external um, pressures.
Yeah.
And I thought
Yeah.
that was super dope. So speaking at
Yeah.
Morehouse was a pleasure. And I also got to share, well, I didn't share the stage, but I was on the same stage as Dr. Mosley, Edwin Mosley, who, was a two-time Olympian, and he used physics to help him get better and to help him win medals,
Yep.
which I thought was
Yeah.
super dope. Um,
Yeah.
Hmm.
very inspired. So it was a great experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
When she
love
told
I
me she
love
was
that
on
brother.
stage with Edwin Moses, I said, "You was on stage with who?" I said, "You talked to who?" So
I love
like that can't
I
be
love
my
him.
gold my Olympian,
Your Olympian.
and that's
I
exactly
was
who it
like,
was.
when I heard his story, I just said, oh my God. Like, I already think Black people are amazing, but that Black brother right there and what he went through and how he took his experience, his Black experience,
Yes.
and married it with physics and numbers and math, and then
Mm.
took it to an international stage again, to our point about like the World Cup and like the
Yes.
Olympics
Yes.
and how it, like I just said, oh my God, like that just hit all the heartstrings right
All
there.
of them.
Yeah,
Any other
I love
speaking?
that
Oh,
brother because
sorry.
because I love him because I love math.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so when I heard his story about what he did with math, and even breaking down the amount of steps he took before he did that, the amount of
Yes.
steps he did before he did that, he counted his steps and he broke how his leg had to go this way, the angle of his leg going over. I'm like, wait a second.
That's what I said.
He was talking about how his leg should have, what angle his leg should be when he was going over. So when he came down, he was in the right position for the next to take the right amount of steps to the next. I was like, wait a second. are people listening to this guy and what he's talking about?
Yes.
It was just awesome. He was just awesome,
That's the first
awesome person.
time. That's the first time I said, "That's what you use numbers for."
Right, right.
Other than
He was
your
a
money.
master of his craft,
So
and
Yeah.
so anybody, I mean, we have YouTube, you can go look up Edwin Moses, hurdler, Olympic hurdler. I mean, just fantastic. I remember as a family we would come together and watch him run and just be
wow.
amazed with him.
So HBC
Any
produced that.
Yes,
Know that I
yes,
can be in that.
yes. Any other speaking engagements coming up where people may be able to catch you that again that you're able to share? I know sometimes our work is confidential.
Yeah, I would say there's some in the works. So pay
Okay.
attention to my Instagram page. I
All
will be
right.
announcing more there.
Okay. All right. Y'all heard it yourself. So you have had a little taste of the Shea Dawson experience this evening.
Thanks
Brother
for this.
Amoja, any other questions
No,
or any other comments that you have
no.
for her?
I just want to thank her for sharing her story, her some of her story with us, because I
Hmm.
know there's someone out there listening that you have just inspired. So
Hmm.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Shay,
you both.
anything else?
Like this
You're
is great.
welcome. Anything else you want to share with the listening audience?
I would just say sow good seeds. Be kind to people. It will come back in more ways than you know. It's definitely an investment that I've made in a lot of people in my career, and
Hmm.
it just changed my life. So being
Yeah.
kind to people and adding value before it's necessary is a good way to think about if you want to get in sports or
Hmm.
if you just want to have a good network of people. It's like adding value and being kind to people.
Yeah, there's so much to your story that I really appreciate you taking the time to share with us. From athlete to athlete, life after
Yeah,
athletics. Um, you recognize that I'm not going to go beyond this point, but it didn't mean that you lost your love for the game and
right.
you found a way to still be in the space at all of the highest levels. I mean, working in the NBA, working with NBA players, helping them in their draft and their recruitment, working with the WNBA, working with WNBA players overseas, here. You have worked the sports arena not in the traditional trajectory, right? And so being able to help people understand that there's multiple ways to be in this space effectively and in a way that your passion and your purpose still plays through. So I thank you for sharing that part of your story with us as well.
Thank you.
All
Thank you.
right, you're welcome. All right, y'all will see her again. She's definitely a friend to the show, and y'all know I have a whole bunch of other shows too. So you'll see her pop up from time to time. Be sure to follow her on her social media so you can keep up with what she's doing. And let me tell y'all, she's a really good TikTok dancer too, y'all. So be sure. We might see. Wait, Texas, hold on. Like this ain't Texas, so y'all better look out. She might be seeing her do that.
Hey.
Exactly. And I'm gonna plug you real quick. If you need some yoga, this is another person you can tap to for that too.
Recently certified. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. All right. Until we meet again, if you haven't joined Ask Dr. Walls 525, please be sure to do so over on YouTube. There will be links in the write up as well where you can find out more about Shay. You can, excuse me, LaShayla, and you can follow her on her different channels. We look forward to seeing you again here on Sisters for Harmony, as well as my other vodcasts. You can check out all the different ones that I do on Dr. Walls and Friends. Again, that's on the YouTube channel, Ask Dr. Walls 525. As always, we say God bless and continue to live your greatest life. We'll see you soon.